Welcome, Kartel members. Thanks for joining me. My name is Julio Hawkes, and I am the Theorizing Theorist. Hope you're enjoying your fantastic Sunday. It's very nice out here where I'm at. Before I begin on this story, I wanted to ask you guys for a favor. So you see the green loading bar right there? And the words, "the future is not available while re-encoding a clip." This is the behind the scenes, how I edit, and that little green loading bar there takes forever to load up, and other times where I'm trying to export the video and other technical stuff really takes a long time to do from this fantastic phone y'all helped me get. And I'm gonna ask you guys again, see if we can't spark some enthusiasm once more and help me get a laptop so I can, one, go live with you guys, because you need a laptop to go live without 1,000 subscribers. So once you get 1,000 subscribers, you can go live from your phone, but before that you have to have a laptop, and I want it for the editing capabilities and the memory capabilities. I have to delete a lot of my beautiful creations because it's on a phone, and I'm not that rich to buy and do all this stuff like with the memories. And so anyway, guys, I'm just reaching out to you guys, seeing if any of y'all people can be kind and help me out. Check the description below for links to my Cash App and to my PayPal and to Venmo, I do believe. I would appreciate it. All the money goes back into the channel. Eventually, when I get big enough and I don't need nothing, I'll tell you guys and say, hey man, if you guys can just help support me in the channel and pay for my full-time jobs, you know, giving you guys content. But until then, right now I work for free, and all the money I get for this channel goes right back into the channel. I have about $90 now saved up. Somebody donated yesterday. I have it saved up in the accounts combined, and I'm gonna get a laptop once I have enough. I have one-eyed at Walmart. That's about $230, I think, something around there. It's a real nice one. So if you can help me out, that's all I'm going to say. Please be sure to subscribe, like, share, follow, all that good stuff. But this video right here is pretty much the Lieutenant General McHenry, or however you say his last name. He is going to double down and back up Lin Wood. And it's very interesting, the turn of events, if you ask me, because I saw the whistleblower, but I don't like reporting on whistleblowers that remain anonymous. It's kind of like the anonymous cowards that went after Trump. That's how I kind of take it. So I don't like giving them any credibility. But with Lieutenant General McHenry saying that we should really read the interview, the transcripts, now I'm gonna have to maybe make a video on it. So please comment below if you've already read them. But Lieutenant General Tom McHenry explains why Lin Wood's whistleblower is absolutely credible. Now, that's some pretty big words. Now, this is the guy that said that we got Nancy Pelosi's laptop, if you don't remember. So we're going to check that video out. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, follow. And as always, you guys know the routine. To God be the glory.
Hey, welcome back. You're on with two mics, Dr. Michael Scheuer and Colonel Mike. And again, happy to have back with us our always special friend and guest, General Tom McInerney. Over 30-something years in the U.S. Air Force. He knows all about it. He knows about cyber warfare. He knows about Hammer and Scorecard. He broke more stories on this show, and we thank you, General, for coming back and breaking some more news. So today, we're happy to have the General on. This is the day, I think it's March 4th today, and this is the day that was supposed to be a big uproar in the Capitol. Yesterday or today, oh, all the QAnon guys are coming. They're going to burn down the city. Pelosi wants another 5,000. Jerry Nadler says God has nothing to do with America. General, welcome back to Two Mics, sir.
Thanks very much for having me, Colonel Mike.
General, tell us what's happening. You say there's some breaking news that we should be aware of.
Well, yes, and I think it's very important. It is an interview that Attorney Lin Wood had on the 9th of January, and he had it with a whistleblower, a chap whose pseudonym is Ryan, Ryan D. White. It's not his birth name. It's a name he prefers, and because he's undercover. But he gave a very, very lengthy whistleblower discussion on what is going on in the black world behind the scenes, the uber dark, if you will, and it was stunning. It talked about Chief Justice Roberts. It talked about Vice President Pence. It talked about Biden. It talked about Judge Sullivan and others and their activities that are stunning. And that's the words I just can't describe because it's not in my world. But the pedophilia and the other acts that these people were alleged to have been involved with. It talks about Seth Rich and his murder, and who was there at the time of his murder, and or at least in the hospital. And that was the mayor and Donna Brazil, who was at that time, the Democratic National Committee chairwoman. So it has got stunning information in it. It came out through a private source to me yesterday and this morning. It came out on the Populist Press, and it was certified by somebody that did the questioning on 2 March. That would have been this week.
Tuesday, yes, sir.
Tuesday, 2 March 21. So that's what it is, and it could be absolutely earth-shaking. The point that we can go in and discuss some of the issues, but they can read it on their own, and they should. And clearly there ought to be an investigation, because pedophilia is bad, but it also talks about attacks and attempted murders on, not attempted, but it talks about Judge Scalia and saying he was murdered. And of course, I think any normal thinking person would have probably agreed with that under the situation and all the information, that there was no real physical autopsy. He was cremated, a whole host of things. It was done very quickly. And then the Democrats tried to put in Judge Garland, which they failed, thanks to Mitch McConnell. But these salacious statements have a lot of merit to it, and were known, and there was a lot of proof around it. So that's why I think that it has got a very high probability of being correct. And Lynn Wood, Attorney Lynn Wood, is a very credible individual, and the source that he had, that was the whistleblower, is a very good source. Although we know he was involved at Port Washington, and we know he was involved with a number of other things with the different intelligence community agencies. And so that's why what he is saying is extremely important. It was certified by Kimberly H. Nolan, which says, I, Kimberly H. Nolan, transcriptionist, do hereby certify that this transcript is a true and accurate record of the electronically recorded proceedings described by me this 1st of March, 2021.
So General, was it Lynn Wood that was involved in getting this transcript? Or
Yeah.
who did the questioning? Was it Lynn Wood?
Lynn did, and there were other people, and they described them as interviewers, and they don't let you know who their names were, but there were a number of them, because they went through down the list of people, and it is very interesting. As a matter of fact, it started.
So in other words, this guy Sullivan was the attorney who was after
the judge. He was a judge who was after Flynn.
Right. He went after Michael Flynn, and he didn't want to give him a break. And, Sidney fought that case, and finally, Trump pardoned him. But so the judge is dirty. The DC mayor is dirty. You got Brazil, who we know was dirty, and she's been dirty for years, right? Right. And you have all these people involved. And now it fits into place. I'm going to say to you and Dr. Mike, that we see where the Epstein and the Weinsteins and all these people, the Wieners, it's a cookie cutter circus of a family of pedos, bad people.
Yeah, it's at least that, Colonel. But what I found really extraordinary was the FBI is kind of the manager, coordinator of the activities of all of these people, whether it's assassinations of judges and Supreme Court judges, the arrangement for Biden to receive children for his pleasure. That's Biden Sr., the potato that's in the White House. It was a stark, stunning, as the general said, but starkly evil, with Rosenstein at the center of it, and children, Biden not caring much about anything, Joe Biden, except getting into the next underage child for molestation or rape. Pence the same way. Pence is both a homosexual and a pedophile, according to this witness.
Really?
Yes. And it is, they said they lured Pence into it first by men who were in their 20s or 30s, and gradually they descended the ladder until it would involve children. And what really is, you got to think back to Roman times almost to see women of such depravity as Mrs. Pence at least the way they're portrayed in these interviews, Mrs. Pence and Mrs. Biden. They're like the Tiberius's wife in Roman history. They just manage the whole system. They know everything that's going on. Apparently, as long as their husband gains power and money, they're fine with it. It's an astounding story. And anybody who believes anymore that the problem of what happened in Russiagate or in the Ukraine business or in the election was the result just of a few bad people at the senior level of our institutions, whether it's CIA or FBI or the National Security Council, they're nuts. The FBI is in this up to their teeth, and I would suggest that the whole place needs to be shut down. Maybe the agency, maybe NSA too. I don't know what the answer is going to be, but the fellow who was being interviewed said the FBI people who were in on the dark side of things were ready to kill those FBI people who were not. So wow. This is no prisoners taken by these people. And it's just everyone should read it. It's a little hard because there's detailed indexes interspersed without the interviews. There was 4 or 5 sessions of interviews. But you come away with it both with your stomach turned, but with the idea of how important it is to wipe these people out.
General and Dr. Mike, both of you years ago were on Fox and other networks, and it's amazing to me now. We look back, and you had big attorneys that worked in the Department of Justice. You had Levin, you had Joe DeGenever, and all of them was they were all hailing King William Barr. Barr is our savior. He's going to do the job. And people are still talking about Durham's on the job. He's still the special counsel, but we don't see anything. We don't hear anything. You cannot tell me that Barr and Durham and all these other people did not know anything. It's impossible.
Well, you would think that's the case. There might be some cause to think that Durham might not. He's been stuck up there in Connecticut for 14 years or something. But the whole, you almost have to go into this now after reading this and what we know from so many other sources. You have to go into this with an assumption that most everybody you're going to talk to is dirty. Mm-hmm. And
let me read to amplify.
Please do. Please,
Colonel Mike. This is the interviewer talking to Ryan. Okay, now you also said in past discussions that there was a plot that Roberts was allegedly part of where they discussed murdering other judges on the Supreme Court under the Hillary Clinton administration. You see, in 2016, I'm going to interject here, they had planned to win that election, and they were shocked when Hillary didn't because they'd used cyber warfare and a number of other things. We can discuss why it didn't work, but they sure made sure it worked in 2020. And now getting back on the what I'm reading, quote, can you give me some amplifying details on that? Interviewee, this is something the FBI set up under their guidance, their political people, going to be a false flag. They had gone out 2 years almost before the election, and it was a sovereign citizen group. Obama did not want any terrorism unless it was a white terrorism. No, this is a sovereign citizen group that the FBI had infiltrated and armed and instigated against other targets. They were, for the most part pro-American, but they were racist in some of their origins. A lot of them were divorced fathers with a grudge against the court system. Anyway, and the FBI people had infiltrated and exploited this. Now, this is just examples amplifying the two comments, or the comments that both of you have made about the salacious nature of it and why, but the heavy involvement of certain elements of the FBI, which clearly came out on the Russian collusion case. And we saw that Comey and Strzok and all the others were involved with. So when you then go through, Roberts had talked about how he was able to adopt children from Ireland, and which was illegal. And then it talks about his other predilections with young boys. But it basically says that Roberts has been gay, and there's nothing wrong with being gay, but he's been gay his whole life. So it points these facts out, and that really must be examined and an investigation, because it's, as Dr. Mike was talking about Biden and his predilection for young girls, and where it was done. What Judge Sullivan did with his granddaughter was the incest was just absolutely disgraceful, despicable. You can't even think about it. But you understand now why Sullivan did not want General Flynn to be exonerated on the false case that they had gotten him on. It talks about how they were able to blackmail people by putting pornography and that on their computer. And then when the FBI was investigating them, they'd say, this is it. And so they'd they drive them into a lesser charge, but force them into on something they didn't do, but they had evidence. So they were absolute masters. It tells the chap's name, who was a master in doing this, in all these cases, which it's absolutely imperative that we get it investigated. But can we get the Department of Justice to do that? I mean, what is going on here in America? We now understand why there was such an obvious, open, massive cyber warfare with the help of China and other nations to win this election, and why the left does not want any investigation, any audit, which we need an audit. If we're going to fix it, we need an audit, but the Democrats are not going to do it. There's no question. Why would Biden, who is apparently they have great control over now, and it's obvious with the record number of 50 plus executive orders that he has signed, and I think we all know he's clueless on what is in him. He looks like a zombie when he's up there signing them.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't put any rationale why he's doing it. And I think it's obvious that Obama is the puppet master. And that's why they're jamming through all these things and trying to change the voting system. Everything that they're doing is so corrupt. We've talked about how they won the 2 senatorial seats in Georgia on the 5th of January this year on the voting, and it was done through cyber warfare again, just the way Obama won on 3 November. So we've got to solve the cyber warfare problem right away. There's got to be, the American people have got to demand an audit, a transparent audit, that we know exactly what happened on that election. But this is even a greater concern of what's going on in the dark secrets of the elite Americans on the left.
I think that's right, General. And I'd like to make 2 points to our listeners, just for them to understand why it's important that they read this particular set of interviews. The man who's being interviewed was part of Rosenstein's, they called it the Dirty Tricks Squad, and he turned on them, and they had him framed, jailed, and while he was in jail, they beat him, they tortured him, they made him permanently susceptible to a variety of illnesses. They beat his wife, and this guy, in the midst of this, delivered an enormous amount of material to the Department of Homeland Security on these criminal activities, not just against him, but against everybody else in the plots to assassinate Scalia and the rest of it. They delivered it to DHS. DHS called in the Department of Justice, and the material was never heard of again.
Wow.
And it is an extraordinary story, and as Colonel Mike said, a sickening story. But you should read it, and just read it slowly, and it will strike you many ways. The one thing that struck me was Roberts wanted some children from Ireland, and they had originally been in Wales, and Wales had a stricter law about adoptions than Ireland. So what did they do? Roberts calls 1-800-Jeffrey Epstein and finds out that these 2 children are already in Epstein's circle, and Epstein can certainly move them to Ireland and then quickly move them into Roberts' control. And the suggestion is that Roberts not only got these children, but then used those children to ingratiate himself by providing them for various services to other people. You can't. It'd be very hard for me, although I'm a bear of little brain, to make these things up. So I urge you to be willing to be shocked and disgusted and read every sentence of this document.
So where do we go from here? We have a military that's standing down. We have a military that should be involved, like the general said for many times, in this cyber warfare. We've had military during Trump's administration, like Mad Dog Mattis, who backed up and went on a board somewhere and said, hey, I'm not with this guy. You got Milley, who says, we took an oath, but he doesn't tell you the full oath that they took, which is to defend the nation against foreign and domestic enemies. And you have a whole Congress now. Now you understand why they can get away with anything they want and have these fake hearings. All right. You had a Mueller report, and Mueller, if we remember correctly, Dr. Mike and General McInerney, Mueller ran Whitey Bugler,
yeah,
who was a major mob guy up in Boston. So they would just give him the tip who he's got to knock off and let him run wild. So, you have a rogue renegade DOJ, a rogue renegade FBI. How does the country go forward from here? What do we do? We had an election stolen, and they're going to tell you, you can't use that word anymore. Stolen election. What are you, out of your mind? I really don't care about Twitter or Facebook. We don't use it. Okay?
Well, here's the facts that you're laying out, and you're asking the right questions, Colonel Mike. There's no question when you mention Mueller and Rosenstein. Well, Rosenstein was a deputy attorney general, the dog, DAG, the dog, and he was reporting directly to Rosenstein because Mueller was reporting directly to Rosenstein. Well, they're the ones that conceived the idea, along with the Clinton team, of entrapping the Trump campaign. And everybody is looking. Rosenstein was heavily involved on the other side of this, and he's walked away free on this. He was hoping to be appointed the vice president, and Pence was going to be the president if they got the Trump campaign. And Rosenstein had cut the deal that he would be the vice president. And so you see all the corruption that was going on there, what President Trump was fighting against, because it was under his administration that Rosenstein was appointed by Jeff Sessions as a deputy attorney general. Now, what did they have on Jeff Sessions? This interviewee, this chap did not say, and Sessions' name did not come up. Although Pete Sessions, his cousin, did down in Texas, his name came up, and he was involved in being defeated, but in trying to counter this activity in Texas as a member of the House. He's now back in the legislature. But what I'm saying is Trump didn't have a chance. And now got to focus on not only this corruption that the current president is alleged to have committed, in addition to what his son has done. I have seen online pictures of his son.
We've all seen them.
And cocaine and all these things. We know he was having an affair with his sister-in-law and a whole host. I mean, it's the most despicable act you can think of, conduct. And then, of course, he gets $1.5 billion loan when he goes over with his father's vice president. And the media isn't even looking at this. The Congress, no one has brought it up to discuss Hunter Biden's money that was paid off to him by China. And we know China was behind the cyber warfare. So what we're telling our listeners, the more you pull this onion back and peel it back, the stinkier it gets. So not only was the Russian collusion involved, you had people who were committing high treason in that act, and then they committed high treason in this election with the cyber warfare and all that. And they're doing it because they don't want a leader in there that will expose all this criminality. That's why it's very important for every American to read Lynn Wood's analysis and the whistleblower that testified in front of them. It is very, very important. And you can get it by populouspress.com or .org.
This is good breaking news. And I don't know how far we can go down the road on this, General, with the listeners, because everybody's upset. Everybody wants to see the MAGA movement continue, especially after CPAC. But, they don't want to come to Washington. They don't want to march. They don't want to protest. They're afraid of AI. Look what Bank of America has done to people who traveled on January 6th. They turned over all the records to the FBI. And, if we really pull the onion back and go back a while, there was a reporter named Amy Robach. I think she was on ABC at the time, but then she went to Fox too, who was investigating Epstein way before anything came out and investigating Weinstein. And she was told it's a nothing story. It was a nothing burger. I mean, she had the bite. She had the story way back before anybody knew who Epstein and Weinstein was. And that's, let's just face it. These are the pimps for the politicians and all the elite in this country. Oprah Winfrey sitting on a TV with a young girl, like handing it off to somebody. I mean, and you know what they're going to do tomorrow, right? Because this is the 3rd and the 4th. They'll have a special on tomorrow with Oprah and Harry and Meghan, and they'll start nailing the royal family. So you take your eyes off COVID, you take your eyes off everything else and the executive orders. I mean, this is not a press anymore. This is not a media. It's just an arm of the Democratic Party. It's a propaganda machine, just like Stalin or Hitler would have had. Okay. And people, I think they're swallowing a lot of this. The American people just either they're burned out, they're tired, or they don't want to get involved. I spoke to someone this morning who says, hey, I got a job and I got to keep going. And you're not going to have anything to go to. You got to stand up and fight for your rights. I mean, you just can't wait for the Patriots to come down the street and say, oh, yeah, they're doing a great job. People have to read it. People have to get in their congressmen and senators' faces. Look at the Republicans. They roll over. Since Biden's in there, did you see any fight? Only Ron Johnson, right? There's no fight. Nobody's fighting. There's no debate.
That's entirely correct. And one thing I would say about reading this interview is there's a lot of people, I think, who think basically like as we do and support Trump, but are angry at Trump for not lowering the boom on these traitors and these pedophiles and these other criminals. But when you read this transcript and you see the breadth and depth of the corruption in high places in the vital institutions, I get the feeling that Trump must have been like a pinwheel at times, turning to this office and another office and that agency and the other organization. And every time he tried to get help, he got screwed by it. Mm. So I don't know how we sort it all out, but it is disastrous, disgusting. There's an unlimited number of negative adjectives you could use. But certainly it's meant to kill America.
It's exactly. It's an effort to make us a communist society, or clearly a totalitarian one. You can call it democratic socialism or progressivism, whatever you want, but it's going to be totalitarian. Let me read another paragraph.
Please do.
Now, Obama fired every U.S. attorney. This is when he came in. At the same time, except Rod. That's Rod Rosenstein. And he was the only one. And this is why, because this is the whistleblower. And this is why, because he was running things for them. He was involved in their plans. And he was running the Hammer, which they've heard of, Hammer and Scorecard, and things through Baltimore. So that just gives you a feel of what a key role. And he was named by Sessions under Trump as a deputy attorney general. And he is the one that created and got a special counsel, being Mueller, to do this. And when you see the corruptness of Rosenstein, and he's out walking today, his perfidious nature, his treasonous nature has not been described, because we have a Department of Justice and FBI that is so corrupt for the elites. And now we've got a person in the White House who was there in inappropriate conditions. It wasn't through the constitutional means. It was through perfidious nature of a massive cyber warfare with foreign involvement. And what are we going to do about that? So you're talking and describe so well, Dr. Mike, how deep this cancer is running in the country. But what, and you asked the right question, Colonel Mike, what are we going to do about it? What is America going to do? We certainly do not have the answer, but we have the opportunity to alert you and point you in a direction. So together, we as the American people can rise up and get this cancer excised from the nation state that we are, if we want to continue that way.
You know, General, I think I read just a little while ago that Rod Rosenstein is now at a major lobby shop, an attorney lobby shop, a powerhouse lobby shop down there on K Street area. And, you know, this is the reward. You know, the reward is you will park yourself somewhere and you'll be well taken care of, and nothing will happen. And, you know, we talk about organized crime in America, you know, whether it be from the old school Italians, the Colombians, the Russians, the MS-13s, whatever ethnic group it may be. Okay, this is much, much larger than any of those guys can do damage to this country. We know what the coyotes do bringing them in, how much they're charging, you know, sex trafficking, human trafficking, you know. But this is, I don't know, this is way beyond, it's way over my head. And like Mike said, when you read it, your stomach turns, and I feel like that. I read a few things there and it just turned my stomach. And I'm like, you know, the people have to really rise up and go see their representatives, contact them. They have to see their church leaders. You know, the pulpits are dead. The churches haven't done anything since COVID. They need to sell the buildings, get the money, and give it to the poor, or whatever they do. You know, you don't need it anymore. They all want to be on Zoom. You know, the ecumenical community has to be responsible too. This is such bad stuff going on. In the eyes of God, this is terrible. Okay, so if we're going to say we're a Christian nation based on Judeo-Christian principles, then somebody's going to have to talk about that too. And a large part of our Congress and Senate, you know, has whether it's Catholics is very minority, but the evangelicals and a lot of the Jewish, the Jewish are in the Congress and the Senate. And I don't know if they go to the synagogue with an open eye or a closed eye, but I'll tell you what, there's a lot of bad people in that Congress. And how does it start? How does it finish? It's by having shows like us, having you on, General, breaking news on the two mics, and, you know, the Freedom First Network. We try our best. We're getting it out there. And, you know, we've grown tremendously since last year, getting these messages out. And we really want to thank you. I want to thank Dr. Mike, and just keep us abreast. Let's break some more news and keep us out front.
Colonel, we're going long, but I'd really like to make two quick short points.
Oh, that's fine. Go ahead. We have all the time. Go ahead, Mike.
First, I wanted for our listeners to reemphasize something that the general said, that Obama, when he was president, had no interest in terrorism unless the culprit, the attacker, was white. Exactly. I think that's very important. And the second thing I would say, or at least speculate, is that if you read the transcripts of these interviews, you keep in mind that everything this man says is in one way or another corroborated, proven by the material that's on the laptops that were seized from Jeffrey Epstein and from Timothy Weiner.
And Hunter Biden.
And Hunter Biden. So we have 3 laptops that will confirm the interview that the general is referring to from I'm sorry, sir, what was it? Populist Post?
I think he's on hold for a second. There he is.
No, here it is. It's called Populist Press, Popul Press.
Mm-hmm. Very good, sir.
And the Lynn Wood interview.
All of those things. It's not like we don't have proof of this. You only, our listeners and us here, the 3 of us, we have the information, but it's not made available to the general public in the United States, and we'll have to find a way. I think that's the beginning. That's the beginning of it, because then a lot of these people won't be able to walk down the street, as the saying goes. So that's all I had to say. But I urge our listeners to have a look at this transcript.
General, would you have any last words you'd like to tell listeners?
No, I just endorse what Dr. Mike said. Get involved, read it, then we'll go forward. But that's the purpose of what you and Dr. Mike are doing, Colonel Mike, and your podcast, are letting Americans know what's going on. The mainstream media will not do it. Thank you very much to both of you.
Okay, thank you, sir. You have a great day. God bless you. Mike, I want to just say something. We have a lot of people joining us now on the FFN Freedom First Network, ffn.locals.com. So on our locals, we have the locals.com now. We have a community there, and it's growing pretty big. And they don't have to sign up. They just go to ffn.locals.com, and they can see the posts that are going up there daily. And we're moving a lot of our podcasts there now. So, I just want to let the listeners know that. So, just join the locals community, and our handle is ffn.locals.com. You could get a lot of the insight from J.D. Rucker, from Jeff Dornick, and you'll see many of our podcasts from the Freedom First Network, and, of course, the 2 Mikes. Dr. Mike, have a great evening, sir. It's always good to talk to you, my buddy.
It's always good to see you or listen to you, Colonel. And
thank you very much.
And the general is a treasure.
He's a treasure, but ladies and gentlemen, we do, and Mike, we do have to knock on the church doors.
We do.
And we have to knock on the representatives' doors. We can't just do the Zoom and this. Well, we're not in our office. There's COVID. Look, forget about it. Just forget about it. You locked us down, and now you're ripping the country off. Knock on the doors. Don't email them, and just go knock on the doors. Your local rep, city, state, federal. Say, we want investigations. We want You can't just take the country that easy. Okay. And I don't think anything's going to happen today or tomorrow. Do you think so, Mike?
No, the interesting thing is that I was a pretty close follower of Q until he signed up for the election.
I just lost you there. Something happened.
I was just saying that I followed Q pretty closely.
Can't hear you, Mike. Come back in. Something happened. Oh, there you are.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. Go ahead.
Okay, Colonel. I was just saying that I was a pretty close follower of Q before he stopped broadcasting before the election. Mm-hmm. As far as I can recall, he never mentioned March 4th. The March 4th is a rumor, and it was picked up by the left press and identified as a date when Washington would be burned down or something like that. It's all a leftist hoax. It's
the Pelosi. It's the Pelosi propaganda machine in place again.
Exactly, Colonel.
Okay, so now when do you think? We're going to ask our listeners. Maybe you could just, when you get into the ffn.locals.com, you could ask JD or Jeff. When do you think the fence should come down? When do you think it's going to come down? And now I heard 5,000 troops had to be here till Saturday. Again, today, the latest news breaking is it'll be another 2 months. So what that tells me, scary-itis is stronger than COVID. And it tells me they're scared shit. Of what? I don't know. They're scared of their own shadow now.
The next big thing is they're going to have to give Biden the Scalia treatment. Because
the My Pillow. Maybe Mike Lindell can have one with the initials on it.
Yeah, it'd be nice. A decorated, embroidered pillow so they can kill Biden, because he can't face anyone.
Mike, I want to bring up something real quick. You spoke about it way back when on one of our shows about Las Vegas. We never found out what happened in Las Vegas. Remember that?
That sticks in my craw to this day. I watched people get killed, more than 50 of them, and some hundreds wounded. And if you remember, Comey sent one of his thugs out there to shut down the investigation. And they said, exactly. This one old, nearly dead man really did it all by himself.
Right. That was the lone gunman who randomly shot at country and western fans who went to a country and western concert that I think was promoted by satellite radio. I may be wrong, but also at that time I said to you on the air, I said, Mike, Mohammed bin Salman was in town. He was in America and he might have been in Vegas. So it was like a whole decoy deal. And it brings us back to, why did that happen? When did it happen? And what was it all about? And was that another false flag? And that was, I remember you saying it, like, we're never going to catch it. And then I said, Mike, it's impossible. It can't be the lone gunman. It had to be a drone.
Yeah.
It was a drone.
Multiple gunmen.
Multiple gunmen or drone. But now that we know what the FBI is like, it could have been multiple gunmen.
Oh, of course. I think that right now is either their drone or their gunmen are the most likely option that occurred.
Terrible. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to listen to this podcast. Whenever we're up there, we try to break the news. And like Mike said and the general said, this website, read it for yourself, and then say to you, just do yourself a favor, put something in your stomach, because your stomach's going to twist. Dr. Michael Schur, always good. Thank you, my buddy. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome, Kartel members, for this Easter egg special extravaganza. I got some good stuff for you guys at the end of this video. I wanted to talk about the future of this channel, I guess. Not the future as in detrimental, like it's going to shut down, but more like, do you guys want me to cover the transcripts that Linwood was talking about? Now, I also wanted to show you this video, and I'll show you why in a second. That's the main part of this Easter egg, but I also want to remind you guys to subscribe, share, like, follow, all that good stuff, and to please find it in your hearts to donate whatever you can, be it a penny, $1, $5, $10. Some of you guys go much higher than that, and I do appreciate those. It really does boost everything. Here comes the Easter egg, guys. I'm thinking about making this my intro from here on out, cutting this little clip up and chopping it up, and you're gonna see here in a minute what I'm talking about, because it's probably the coolest thing I've ever seen. Look at this guy. Look at him. Look at him get down. Get down, get down. Look at him, look at him. Oh snap, look at that. Oh, it's so smooth. Even Betty Boop over there is checking him out. Sorry guys, that's the Easter egg. I'm gonna wrap that up and put it in a intro for you guys, and then he turns into a goat. He gets down, man. I don't know who made this video, but it is really a gem that I wanted you guys to see. I hope I'm not pissing y'all off, but thanks for joining me and staying to the end of this video. If you don't know, I leave these Easter eggs, or whatever you want to call them, at the end of each of my videos. I try to, at least. Sometimes I don't, sometimes I do. Usually I do. Usually it's different every time, so sometimes I'll speak, sometimes I don't. Either way, just it's a good chance for me to remind you guys to subscribe if you're not subscribed, and hit the bell, to make sure you're getting all the notifications. And please guys, share this video. It's the only way I get it out to the public. Right now, my Facebook, you know how it is. You share it on your feed of 5,000 people and 0 likes, 0 views, So if you guys could help me break the algorithms and share it with the 10 people that are able to see your feed, and I do it to the 10 people that are able to see my feed, and so forth, we'll get some more subscribers and people in here, and we'll be able to have more fun down in the comments section, a more educated conversation down there, to say the least. So thanks to everybody for hanging out in the comments section as well. And be sure to donate if you can donate to this channel. If you appreciate the content I deliver to you on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, please consider supporting this small channel. It's the only way we are able to keep this fun going. So without any more wasting of your time, I'm going to end this video with the typical, and as always, you guys know the routine. To God be the glory.
Big maker.